Good morning, everybody. It is April 1st today. It is a balmy 7 degrees. The sun is high and feeling warm. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke. It is melting. So the drills have been drug out of the snowbank down there. Thank goodness. Because that is basically going to be a slough when all this snow melts. And that is grass. We actually mow that down there. So they actually, you can clearly see them made trails. I think it was yesterday or the day before they drug those drills out. And we stuck them up here on the terra firma. Because we actually want to be able to work on these drills pretty soon. It is April after all. And I know it doesn't look like spring is here. But to us, spring should be here. Keep in mind that we typically would start seeding at the South Farm in about the middle of April. So in about 2 weeks. And that is not going to happen. I can tell you what is going to happen. Is we're going to seed at the South Farm at the same time as we're going to seed at the North Farm. Probably going to be inside of May. What days, we don't know. But we're going to melt and we have a similar amount of snow. So there's going to be a lot of stucks this year. There's going to be a lot of water floating around this year. As you can clearly see, there's some water moving. Get on the other side of the shadow. So stay tuned for all these water melt videos that we're going to take. We're going to have a lot of fun as well. With that. English is hard. But anyways, I want to give you guys a bit of a drill update here. So we're going to start with this one here. This is the 84 950 cart. This is the drill that Dad bought last spring. And we bought it late. And it needed quite a bit of work. It needed points, bander blades, and hoses. And there's oil leaks and... the depth adjust was C-solid. It needed Packer wheel bearings. You name it, and it pretty much needed it. And we got it so late that we simply just didn't have time to do any of that, if you remember right. So we actually just parked it. It just literally sat at the North Farm and didn't seed a single acre. Well, this drill this year is going to seed a few acres, Lord willing. And I bought this from Dad. So Dad no longer owns this drill. He sold it to me. I bought it from him. This is still Dad's unit. Dad actually has this wheeled tractor with the 68-foot QDA, which QDA stands for quick depth adjustment, and with a 950 cart. This QDA drill is the only QDA of its kind that we have. All the rest of our drills are XTC for extra contouring. That's what that stands for, and I much prefer the XTC over the QDA, which is the reason why we only have the one QDA. But in saying that, you probably have other questions like, Mike, then why did your dad even buy the drill? That's a really good question. Well, he wanted to get another drill, and then it just kind of turned out that he didn't need another drill. And so I was actually in need of another drill, so I bought this drill from him. At the end of the day, that's the long story short of it. So Dad still has the one drill. I will now have two drills. I'll have this 84 with a 950 cart, which is going to stay at the South Farm for this year. And the reason why is because it's pretty dang expensive to be moving drills back and forth. It's about $14,000 per round trip, and that's nothing just to throw around if it's not needed. Second of all, 950 cart is going to make more sense down here this year for sure, because we were still in a drought last year, those last 2 years, and we have a lot of fertilizer according to our soil samples out in our field. So we really aren't going to be putting down very much fertilizer because we have enough fertilizer in our field to just about grow a crop. Where the North Farm, as you know, that we had a really good crop up there, so we'll be piling down the fertilizer according to our soil samples to grow the crop that we're targeting to grow. So that's one of the reasons. Another one of the reasons why this drill is going to stay down here is it still needs quite a bit of work. I believe that we've done the Packer bearings. Remember the video that we did with Frankel's? These Packer bearings, we repacked all these new bearings. So that's done. And when you do that, you got to pull this whole assembly off. So you can pull these bolts, put new bolts in, put the anti-seize and everything on it. So that way you actually have depth adjustment. Okay? Because remember last year, this was seized freaking solid. And this is a really poor design by Bourgault, but don't worry, they've actually upgraded it now. And you and I could actually buy the new upgraded kit, which is like a cast, and then it has this pin that goes through, and it can never seize up. And it's really good because these pins always pop out. You got to put these pins in here, right? If you don't put those pins in there, you're going to be going down the field, and you might have it set to 4. The first rocket hits, it's moving, and all of a sudden, boom, it's going to go right to its deepest depth, which then nothing's going to come up behind that shank. Now, so that's the reason why the pin goes in there, is to keep that from moving, but they move around so much sometimes that they'll actually pop your pin out. So that's the reason why I think this drill should have them all, because we were just working on it. But the other 84 950 cart up there is actually missing a lot of pins, and that's just because going down the field it pops them out. Well, Mike, then why wouldn't you just upgrade to the better design? Then you don't have to worry about it. That's a really good question. It's pretty expensive to upgrade, so you know, we just been feeling like we should put our money elsewhere. And we like to change our bearings quite often, even though we do grease them. But you know, we're kind of weird like that. We like to change bearings even if they're not wore out that bad. For example, on my cart, not this one, but on my cart, the 1300 up north, I like to wash it all out inside. So I would typically change all my meter auger bearings every single year, whether it needed it or not. That's kind of... I'm a very preventative kind of guy, so I just keep... For the bearings, they're dirt cheap. It's just your labor to do it. And these wheel bearings, typically we change those wheel bearings once a year just because. And they could probably go 6 years without being changed, but that's just how we roll. So in saying that, we'll probably change these Packer bearings maybe every 3 years. And that's about how long you'll have before they seize up again. So it just kind of works out. Does that make sense? Makes sense. Got it. You guys got it. But anyways, there's still more work to be done in this drill, which is the reason why it's down here. We got to put some, might have to do bearings in the mid-row bander hub here. Definitely got to put blades on. Probably have to put some points on because they're starting to hook. Once they start to hook, that means they're going out very quickly. Needs new float tires up on the front. This drill did not do well coming back from the North Farm. Oh, there's a story. So we're harvesting down at the South Farm, and I want to get this drill down south here before the snow flies. So I'm like, yep, just go. I got it all custom done, you know, just go hook up to it and bring her south. Well, as soon as they hooked up to it, of course, I'm not at the North Farm, I'm down south. We blew a hydraulic line because these things kind of seep down, and we had to pull them back up, and poof, oil is going all over the place. Of course it would. And of course, you know, where are you going to go get a hydraulic line fixed up at the North Farm? I don't have any hydraulic fittings or lines or anything, you know, nothing really set up for that. So once we got over that hurdle, they hooked up and they were making their way back here, and somewhere between Swift Current and Regina on the Trans-Canada Highway, they had tire problems. Not only did they have tire problems, but they had wheel bearing problems as well. And that's these back ones, which you'll notice, it's already been upgraded to these new floats back here. You can still see the little rubbers on them. So we had bearing problems, tire problems. Basically, if you could imagine all the problems we had those problems. But if you remember my video of bringing my last big drill home, and then my conveyor popped out and wedged it and bent the tank, we made sure that that didn't happen this year. Anyways, we also had a flat tire. I think it was on that one. We had to get a spare put on, also on the highway. And this one just barely made it home. As you can see, it's completely shot. And these are bias tires. They do not take roading very well, which is the reason why on my 84 that's up north, I have VF tires. And they take the weight and the roading way better. Now I do have some other tire options, and it's not options, but surprises to show you guys here in the spring, so stay tuned for that. These tires are going to get switched out, and so just stay tuned for that. So Mike, you're going to leave this drill down here. That you bought this drill, that's true. What are you going to pull it with? I'm going to use that's a really good question. I'm going to use my John Deere triple tractor. It's also at the South Farm somewhere. And then that means the Fendt 1167 and the 84 with the 1300 bushel cart is going to stay north. Got it? Got it. So no, Mike, I don't got it. So you're saying you own two drills now. That's correct. I own two drills. This one and the one north. And that's your younger brother's drill, Brian. Yes. And that's your dad's unit. Yes. And that one's your older brother Terry's. Yes. Then who's that? Very good question. Thanks for asking. That drill is Jared's drill that he pulls, but it's actually owned by my younger brother Brian. So Brian has two drills. I will now have two drills. And because we all own our own equipment, that is just how we roll. I've said that before in the past. So yeah, so Brian has a 1300 and a 950, and so do I. The only difference is, and they're both the same year. This one, I think these are 2015 drills. The only difference is technically Brian's, or AKA Jared's drill at pull, has a conveyor, and the one that I just bought from Dad is an auger, just like that 950, which Ashtyn always used to pull, which is now gonna, who knows who's gonna pull that one yet this spring. But so we have 2 drills with augers, and I'm not a big fan of the auger. I'm definitely prefer the conveyor. Yep, definitely. Then why did you get it? It just happened to be the deal, I guess. That's just kind of how it goes. If you were gonna order one, you would spec it how you wanted, but if you're gonna buy used, it's just kind of what's available and at the right price. So anyway, that's a bit of the drill update. They're pulled out. We're waiting for this terra firma to dry up a little bit to continue working on the drills, get ready for seeding. Like I said, we hope to start seeding beginning of May sometime, and it's going to be at the exact same time as the North Farm. Mike, how are you going to do that? I don't know. We'll stay tuned, I guess. We'll figure that out as we go. It's going to be very entertaining spring, that's for sure. I can tell you that right now. And stay tuned for some more surprises to come. And look, we got the old Volvo on the water tanker over there. Woo! The whole water. Is that the battery case off, Mike? Yes. I need to put a disconnect on the truck. Got new batteries, and there's still got to be a battery drain in there somewhere, so I need to put a disconnect. So, but for temporary, just pop the cables off. All right, guys. I will catch you on the flip side. My toes are getting wet because I never have rubber boots. I'm not used to water. And once all this snow melts, or actually before the snow melts, hopefully the next bit of a cold snap we're gonna get, because it still freezes at night. Hopefully I can get that X9 out of there, because I need to do a service on it and send it for a green light. And then when I get the X9 out, we'll do a little update, talk about the X9. So stay tuned for that. Adios, amigos.